Dr. Nthabiseng Motete, who is joining us all the way in South Africa. Just to share a little bit about who she is and the work that she's done before she begins her presentation. Dr. Nthabiseng Motete holds a PhD from the University of KwaZulu-Natal and currently serves as a group executive for crop sciences at the Agricultural Research Council in South Africa. She leads research, development, innovation, and service delivery on crop-based agriculture to attain impact on sustainable agricultural systems for agrarian transformation, food, and nutritional security. Previously, she held the portfolio of Deputy Director General for Forestry and Natural Resource Management at the Department of Agriculture, Forestry, and Fisheries in South Africa. Today, she will be speaking to us about change management for sustainable vegetable value chains. Dr. Nthabiseng, welcome.
To begin by acknowledging my colleagues. I have explained who they are, and I'll move to the next slide to make a very strong case for vegetable research and the change management thereof because of the nutrient dense attributes that we obtain from vegetable food systems. And there is also very unique diversity that we are able to build on from vegetable production, the diversity of the crop and the diversity of locality to give producers in different places the opportunity to really just address their own local production challenges as they work towards transformation and particularly shifting on consumer consumption patterns, because a lot of what is nutrient dense in vegetables that is able to solve some of the nutrition challenges that we face is vegetables that are in the category of forgotten crops or neglected crops that are not part of the mainstream. And it's important that we bring these back to the mainstream. And in bringing these food products back into the mainstream, we also have the opportunity of diversity of role players that we deal with in vegetable production, ranging from the producers, the processors, the distributors, including the consumers themselves. And all of these opportunities are actually embedded in benefits that can actually enhance economic, societal, and natural resource management attributes of transformed vegetable value chains. And particularly, they allow us to frame our work within the Sustainable Development Goals in terms of contributing to ending hunger and making available healthy diets for all, but also to contribute to sustainable use of biodiversity, and also bringing back that point that was referred to with emphasis on agroecology and agroforestry, because within agroforestry systems, you're able to incorporate your vegetable production. So there is a lot of innovation in terms of farming practices, and we hope that this contribution sheds some light in terms of the things that we can do, having had the problem very well scoped by the previous speakers, but these are now the practical applications of how we can use our research work and opportunities for collaboration to try and resolve these challenges that we face. And we also have opportunities to bring in technological innovation in terms of different types of production systems, regenerative farming, low impact urban farming, including alternative protein farming, and bringing in non-crop protein sources. Reference was made to insect proteins, perhaps within our agroecological and agroforestry systems. There are these opportunities when we transform our vegetable value chains. And all of these transformation efforts, of course, make a significant contribution to elimination of poverty and to increase income, generating opportunities for those that participate. Our own research program on vegetable food systems in the ARC is broad enough and focuses on a range of key areas that enable us to try and find, to provide a basket of solutions to all players in the value chain. So we do collection and characterization of vegetable genetic resources. We collaborate with a lot of other research partners to exchange material through material transfer agreements. We do breeding, pre-breeding and breeding programs. We also focus a lot on development of cultivation practices, particularly that drive sustainable use of natural resources, water efficiency, cultivation practices in the vegetable farming programs. We do a lot of surveys and characterization of pest and plant pests and diseases, pathogens. The previous speaker spoke about also the issue of locusts there. Processing and product development for those that want to run enterprises for finished products. We do that research. Awareness creation and farmer participatory research programs are very important. And all of these broadly just help us to broaden the food base, and particularly in our own country, we are beginning to see the diversification of diets, because otherwise our diets are very narrow. And this also helps us to contribute to other benefits that bring the whole concept of sustainability to the fore. Some of our diversification strategies, of course, include the promotion of new crops. Say a crop like okra, which is nutrient dense, it is not part of the mainstream diet in our country. And our program, our research program really is working with communities to promote this crop, mupane worms, and this is a protein-rich non-crop source that obviously is associated also with mupane trees within our agroforestry systems, which we would want to bring into the mainstream, including different processing opportunities that make it more acceptable, so that we can deal with these issues of the cultural constraints and barriers to consumption of rich nutrient sources of food. But also what is important is elevating the importance of plant proteins as a healthier source, especially for those communities that are unable to access animal proteins due to constraints of costs and affordability. And we have a very robust program on cowpea research, pigeon pea, bambara groundnut, and we are finding that communities and producers are actually accepting these new opportunities. We work on biofortification of crops, and including processing of some of the plant-based sources, like from moringa, to fortify some of the food that we produce through our processing, agro-processing research programs with the communities. We support communities in accessing markets or even establishing their own local markets, because they still have to deal with the strong barriers of highly regulated formal markets that are also very expensive for them to enter. And so we support communities with local markets, indigenous markets, where they can actually trade with some of the indigenous crops that have not yet made it into the mainstream. We also work a lot with new role players into the food and nutrition value chain, promoting new crops for both commercial and food consumption. And commercial use, for example, we are bringing cassava very strongly as for starch production, and there is a number of beneficiaries that we work with through a very a well-funded research program through our Technology Innovation Agency here in South Africa. But because of the resilience of this crop, we find that is also very good as to be introduced into the South African food systems. And it's very encouraging looking at the uptake. We work with farmers on training programs to introduce new production systems, even for these very indigenous crops. Here you can see pictures of our amaranth production fields, in farmers' fields where they produce for commercial purposes, including to supply large commercial producers with amaranth for freezing and distribution in their culinary value chains, African ginger, and all of these things require rich collaboration. And part of the reason I'm really participating in this webinar is to look for these opportunities to enrich and deepen our collaboration opportunities so that we can bring in benefits that include the development of effective and affordable seed systems for local crops. As I have said earlier at the beginning of my presentation, that vegetables give us both the diversity of the crop, but local specificity so that you're able to deal with the specific needs of local communities. And it's important that we also make sure that there is available affordable seed for local crops. And crop development, there were certain elements of other technologies of crop development that were mentioned here, breeding, whether GMO, non-GMO, and including new technologies that are there. CRISPR, it's one of genome editing, which really doesn't bring the concerns of GMO that people have. What can we do to try and use these innovations to advance the interest of communities for food transformation? So clearly there's got to be favorable policies that enable us to do all of these things. So there's a need to look at our the existing R&D policies and begin to increase our investments in areas where of transformation of food systems that will bring the best benefits to society. Here, I just want to share some highlights and examples of the work that we do with orange flesh sweet potato across the value chain, including providing communities with disease-free vine material, including to support school nutrition programs and enterprise development, where producers are able to then use this crop for production of various food products, particularly for commercial enterprises, as you can see in there. It's the same with amaranth. So we don't just allow producers to produce only for their local consumption. There are opportunities to also link up with commercial product development. And also the same applies to cassava, amadumbe, or taro. All of these, what would one refer to as neglected crops, we are bringing into the mainstream. And therefore, clearly all of us are pointing to certain gaps that are very visible, especially within the policy environment that we operate in. And I think that we have the opportunity really to collaborate together to close these policy gaps or to rethink those new policy interventions and innovations that can lead us to really transform food systems and resolve our inequality challenges that we face in our different countries, but which we can resolve collectively in a systemized way in our region of Southern Africa, but broadly in the continent. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nthabiseng, for a very educational aspect of finding innovative ways of using some of the solutions